and she have many book chapters as well written on her account. And she has supervised and advised more than 50 postgraduate theses in medical education, given more than 30 presentations at universities and conferences, published about 70 articles, and co-authored 7 books. And her book chapter includes a chapter in a practical guide for medical teachers. She has received several national and international awards and is editorial member of some medical journals as well. So with this, we will welcome Dr. Shoaleh Bigdeli from Iran, professor of medical education, and her topic of today's talk is gamification.
In the name of God, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Hello all. It's a great pleasure to be with you in this virtual conference. I'd like to express my gratitude to University of Kerbala and Asadaq Virtual International University, who gave me this opportunity to talk to you about gamification in medical education. It's Dr. Shoaleh Bigdeli from Iran University of Medical Sciences. In the last couple of years, every one of us, as teachers and our learners, experienced COVID pandemic and the changes in teaching and learning processes. In the future, we'll remember these ages not only by COVID-19 pandemic, but also with technological advances that changed the face of teaching and learning. In this presentation, the focus of attention is on games and gamification, game history, types, terms, concepts, and definitions, advantages, disadvantages, engagement factors, elements, and take-home messages. To talk about educational technology, it's worth mentioning that it's a process of integrating technology into education. We use technology to build better teaching and learning experiences that result in higher learning and teaching outcomes. In other words, educational technology is a concept that transforms traditional book teaching and learning to digital form. It affects the way that we deliver knowledge and makes teaching more effective. In other words, our traditional classes are changed into something new and innovative. Higher education technology trends strongly focus on different aspects of connectivity, versatility, and student-centeredness. When we talk about connectivity, it means that it's a very simple way of connection between teacher, learners, and learners with each other. Different people from all around the world are connected to each other, and communications becomes much easier. The technologies focus on versatility. It means that we can use them and adapt them to our student need and to our teaching and learning needs and wants. And most of the time, it gives the students the opportunity to learn by their own, at their own pace, whenever they want to do the learning, and it's always available to them. From all the modern technologies today, we focus on gamification. Let's talk about what gamification is and why is it important to integrate gamification into medical education. I'm sure that every one of you have played a game in your life. Can you remember why, when, and how you played games? Now the question is, why educational games matter? In higher education, there is an increasing demand for accountability. At the same time, there is an increasing focus on improved teaching and learning. These two are closely related to each other, and higher accountability brings increased improved teaching and learning. and vice versa. In playing educational games, student activities involve active cognitive processes such as problem solving, reasoning, decision making, reflection, and evaluation. Our students are motivated to learn from activities that are meaningful to them, and at the same time, they'll learn collaboratively with their peers and instructor. We have millions and millions of game players all around the world. Mental stimulation by the games is significantly important. Games bring relaxation and stress relief. They improve problem-solving activities. People can communicate with others and they have fun. And overall, it could be said that games have positive impact on the life of the players. Gamers own game consoles, handheld devices, and VR devices, and they can use them to play games. Most commonly used devices by game players are smartphones, game consoles, and personal computers. And most popular game genres are casual games, action games, and shooter games. Statistics indicate that people over 15 years of age usually spend 25% of their lives on playing games. Yes, 1/4 of lives spent in games. So the question now is why to change our current teaching approaches? Traditional models of teaching and learning include see one, do one, and teach one. And nowadays, it's mentioned that how can we improve teaching and learning? And is the solution educational games? In today's classrooms, we confront digital immigrants who are teachers and who need to become familiar with games and gameplay tools. On the other hand, we have our learners. As is mentioned in literature, they are called Homo sapiens, net geners, net generation, YZ generation, millennial students, and Gen Degens or digital natives, those who are tech savvy and those who are get used to using the technology to do their daily activities. Therefore, the main challenge that we encounter in today's classes as generation divide and difference between our learners and teachers to use technology. The technology trend that we are focusing on is gamification. It's closely related to games. And about the games, it could be said that they are as old as human beings. We had an evolution in the game industry and educational games commercialization. We had the spread of digital games all around the world and health professional students use this technology as well. It could be said that during the last couple of years in which we had the COVID pandemic, these educational games became much more popular and the gamification were focus of attention for different disciplines. In the educational game literature, we confront different concepts that are very distinct, they can be used interchangeably, and there is no conclusion on their definition. The most commonly used terms are games, gamification, game resources, educational games, game-based learning, and game-informed learning. When we want to talk about games and gamification, we have to focus on elements of game that are used in gamification. In games, we have player or players, we have a story, goals, rules, interaction, feedback, artificial nature, challenge, competition, and consequences of games are always there. Whenever there is a game, we have rules and regulations, mechanics, engagement, collaboration, interactivity, higher thinking, involvement, and aiming. Some of the usual game types are adventure games, simulation, competition games, cooperation games, puzzles, educational, and practical games. And we have card games, board games, simulation or simulated game, role-playing, frame games, puzzles, crosswords, TV show formats, virtual learning 3D platforms, game show, slide presentation, multimedia, strategy game, 3D or 2D shooter games, and arcade games. All of these forms can be used in educational contexts and can make different games with the characteristics, for example, of a card game, and we can teach our students through playing games. The three major elements of games are abstraction, mechanics, and interface. Game elements are used in gamification as well. When we talk about abstraction, it means that as teachers, we simplify the real-world challenges for our students. This gives our students an ability to focus on their learning and to learn simplified skills. After a while, they can put these simplified skills all together and make this complex set of skills that help them to have their future movements or patterns. In other words, before mastery over any particular skill, they do not move to learning complex set of skills. The game element of mechanics is also seen in gamification. It shows the progress from one level to another one. We have feedbacks. Student gets feedback. Positive feedbacks help them improve, and negative feedbacks help them to concentrate on the parts that they have to improve. There is an assessment and evaluation. They will be judged for their mastery over a skill. And after a while, they get confidence in skills that they learn. And learning some skills help them and encourage them to learn new skills. The element of interface creates a sense of fun and encourages learner to take part in the game and to continue playing the game despite hardships, obstacles, or frustrations. It promotes students' engagement and invites them to voluntarily choose to play the game for long hours, and we can increase the hours of instruction by the interface of a game. When we have an interesting interface for educational games, we can move toward competency-based curricula, and we can encourage learners to increase their perception and understanding of what we're going to teach them. As teachers, in order to engage our students in a game, we need to be careful about the game engagement factors. We can classify game engagement factors to those which are learner dependent. For example, those who create sense of enjoyment or is fun to play for students. They work in their affective skills or their reasoning or reflection, and it has positive effects on their decision making. So whenever we want to create a game, we need to be careful about the learner dependent factors. Some of these factors are related to game safety. For example, game creates a safe learning environment. We have the element of chance, pride in achievement or accomplishment. In games, students are rewarded by their positive achievements, or there's a sense of excitement for them. The advantages of games can be classified into different groups. By using games, we can create a repetitive learning experience, which is an effective learning strategy. It reinforces knowledge acquisition. All learners try to enrich their knowledge. It's a valuable method for teaching abstract concepts and learners become autonomous and independent. In creating games, we need to consider virtual rewards. For example, we can give students points or badges according to their achievements. We can give them gifts. And whenever we use a leaderboard in a game, students can compare themselves with other students or even with learners from all around the world. They can compare their achievements and they can go to other levels of the game by their achievements. Games might have disadvantages, and teachers and students must be careful about disadvantages of the games. For example, sometimes learners feel anxiety and stress whenever they want to play a game or their learning styles do not match the game. Creating games are expensive, and as teachers who want to create games, we need to have a financial support most of the time. Games create safe-learning environments. They guarantee patient safety and decrease student burnout. We can lead to competency-based education, and by creating virtual experiences that are cost-effective and using different scenarios to present different cases, we can enhance teaching and learning process. Games are feasible for adults and uh, they are engaging, they enhance acquisition of knowledge, attitude, and practice, and we can use game to teach students individually. Learning process will be improved, and there's much more collaboration between learners and teacher and learner when they use the games. As a final word, it could be said that games are engaging, competitive, motivating, pleasurable, feedbacking, challenging, they are interactive, and they have a specified set of rules and regulations that must be followed. Games are educational tools, and they do not have to replace traditional methods of teaching. They have practical benefits for teachers and learners and health system target audience. They prevent student boredom, they improve traditional methods of teaching, and using games is an opportunity for experiential repetitive learning. Games create a safe virtual curricular or extracurricular educational space and overall will facilitate teaching and learning process. And the final note is that educational technology will result to better teaching and learning in communities and throughout the world.